Software vendors are one of the most critical aspects of a digital transformation evaluation process. But a lot of organizations don't really know how to facilitate the whole demo process, nor do they know how to get the most value out of it. So what are those things you need to know as you embark on your software demo process? That's what I want to talk about here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world reach their third stage of digital transformation success. And when we're helping clients through their digital transformations, one of the first milestones we typically help our clients with is helping them evaluate and choose the software or softwares that are the best option for their digital transformation and for their organization. And within that evaluation process is the software demo process, which is critical as part of an evaluation process. It's a way to not only see and understand how software might be able to meet your business requirements, but it starts to create excitement and buzz within your organization because now people start to see how technology might improve your business going forward. But the software demo process can be complicated, it can take a lot of time, and it can be hard to get what you really need to get out of the software demos. So what I want to do today is talk about what those things are that you need to do and some of the strategies that we've seen work best for organizations as they go through their software demo process. Now, for more information on the demo process, as well as just the general software evaluation process, I encourage you to download our new guide that we just published not too long ago. It's called A Buyer's Guide to Selecting Business Software. Now, to download this free guide, you can just scan the QR code on the screen in front of you, or you can go to the links below. I've included a link to that guide as well as other resources that are meant to help you through your digital transformation. And by the way, this buyer's guide includes a whole host of rankings and reviews of different software solutions and vendors in the marketplace. So I highly encourage you to check it out because it'll give you a good starting point or at least a good reference point as you evaluate different technology options for your digital transformation. The first strategy to consider, this arguably the most important one for your demo process, is to ensure that you're avoiding a sales pitch. The last thing you need is for a sales rep to come in and just show you all the cool bells and whistles of what their technology can do without doing so in the context of how your business works, your industry, and how you want your business processes to look in the future. So one of the best ways to mitigate this risk of getting a sales pitch is to create demo scripts, the expectations for how you want the software vendor sales reps to show you their solution. So this changes the discussion from a sales pitch to more of a day in the life. And it's really a way of forcing the software vendor or the sales rep to show you and demonstrate to you how the software works using your business processes as the foundation for that. And it's also a great way to create a relatable exercise that people within your organization are going to understand. Now they can see exactly how the software will support business processes in a way that they can relate to. So this is something that's very important, is to create those demo scripts so that you're not getting a sales pitch, but rather you're getting a day in the life using this vendor's technology as a possibility. When you're getting a demo of potential software options, and when you're evaluating software in general, by the way, it's not a yes-no binary evaluation. In other words, it's not a matter of does the software do it or not, but rather it's typically a question of how well does the software do it. And this is why it's important to add somewhat of a quantification to the scoring or the rating of each of the software options that you're looking at. And the way we'll facilitate this with our clients is that we'll have employees from the client organization that are in the demos. We'll ask them to quantify or give ratings to each of the business requirements that they're asked to rate in the demo process. So as the sales rep is walking through a day in the life of how this software would work in your business going forward, employees or end users that would be using the software are in those demos, and they're assigning a score or rating of, say, 1 to 5 of how well the software can handle each of the major business requirements that are being demonstrated. So 5 might be the best possible way of handling a function. A 1 might mean that it doesn't handle that function very well at all, and then obviously a 2, 3, or 4 is somewhere in between. But it's a great way for you to unpack and understand and get input and feedback from employees on how well the software can do different things according to your business needs and your business requirements. So regardless of how you might quantify the scores, I encourage you to focus on finding a way to ensure that you assign some sort of quantification to your evaluation during the software demo process. When going through a software demo, it's important to evaluate software functionality. How well does a business process work? How well does the transactions within a system support your business processes? Those are all very important, but it's not the only thing you should evaluate. In fact, in some cases, there's other considerations that you might evaluate that could be even more important. For example, you might have a sales rep that just isn't very good at demoing. It's someone that isn't very good at communicating. Maybe it's someone that just doesn't appeal to you personally, or it's someone you flat out don't like. So that's one thing you don't want to do, is bias your assessment of the functionality based on the software sales rep themselves. But some of the other things you may want to consider in addition to general functionality would be things like the platform itself. So what does the platform look like? How easy is it to use? What does the overall user interface look like? Those are some things that aren't necessarily related to specific workflows or functionality, but it could be very important in your evaluation process. So that might be one example of an area you might want to evaluate beyond software functionality. Another example might be your IT group. Your internal IT group might want to evaluate the tool set that they have available in the software option in terms of how they might configure or customize or integrate the technology. Another example would be the business intelligence and reporting capabilities. How strong is that business intelligence and reporting? Not necessarily focused just on business functions or processes, but the reports themselves, the analytics. If there's artificial intelligence capabilities, what does that look like? So things that aren't necessarily related to specific processes, but things that will be very important or should be very important to your evaluation. So as you're defining what you want your demo scripts to be and what things you want to evaluate during the demo process, make sure you're looking at things beyond just simple software functionality and processes that you want to evaluate. At the end of the day, the software demo process is an imperfect science. You can involve all the right people, have the right process for assigning quantitative rankings, and you could have a great sales rep that's accurately demonstrating how the software works, but the demo process is still subject to human perceptions and biases and that sort of thing. So one thing you want to do is augment the inputs from the demo process with other data points, other objective data points that either validate or maybe invalidate what you're seeing in the demo process. For example, we at Third Stage use our own internal software vendor database that measures close to 1,000 different enterprise technologies against 30,000 business requirements. And what this objective database does is it gives quantitative rankings of how well different systems can handle different functions and capabilities. So we will augment the client demo scores with this data from our database to really either validate, in some cases, some of the things that were observed during the demos, but in other cases, we identify inconsistencies. And it's those inconsistencies that we might want to drill into. Maybe we do follow-up demos. Maybe we dive deeper into that in our RFP process or the request for proposal process. So those are just a couple examples of how you might use objective third-party data to ensure that you're validating the information you're getting from the demos. And one word of warning or word of caution here is to ensure that the data you use to augment the vendor demos is truly objective and it's not being provided by software vendors. That's critical because you don't want to just get an echo chamber of how great the software is. You want to get an objective understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of the system or systems that you're evaluating. So you want to be careful of not only data you might get from software vendors or system integrators that are clearly aligned with trying to sell you software, but you also want to be careful of industry analysts too that might be paid by software vendors to create industry reports that showcase or spotlight how great a potential software vendor is. So for those reasons, you want to make sure you look at objective data points to augment the data you're getting from the demo process. Now, I mentioned at the top of this video how important it is to create demo scripts based on your business requirements and your defined business needs. However, there are going to be capabilities and technological advances that you may not be aware of and you may not have built into your business requirements. So you do want to leave a little bit of buffer or a little bit of flexibility to ensure that you're looking at possibilities, things that you may not have thought of that might be great ways to augment or improve your business processes. Now, you want to be careful here because you don't want to go too far off the beaten path. You don't want to go into other industries or capabilities that just aren't relevant to you. But to the extent that they're relevant to your business and to your needs, you want to make sure you evaluate those considerations as well, because the demo process is a great way to introduce to you ways that technology might improve your business. So it's sort of a double-edged sword. You want to have a vision of what you want to start with, but you also want to be open to things you're not thinking of that the technology can help you do. So one way to do this is to make sure that you build in the demo process time for the software sales reps to do their thing, to talk about what capabilities they think would be most relevant to you and the things that they think differentiates their product in helping you get there to that future state. The next thing that's very important that I've alluded to in passing throughout this video so far is to make sure that you include business stakeholders in the demo process. And here's where it gets tricky, because in a perfect world, you would involve every single employee within your organization in the demo process. However, that's just not realistic for most organizations. And if you were to actually involve every employee in the evaluation process, yes, you might get input from everyone and start to get buy-in from everyone, but now it's going to get harder to make a decision because you have so many people you're relying on to provide input. So you really need to find that balance of involving enough people in the evaluation process, but not so many people from the business that it complicates the process or results in analysis paralysis. So this is a tricky art more so than science in making sure that you identify representation from each of the major locations, each of the major departments and work groups within your organization to ensure that they're involved and that everyone has had some sort of a say and some sort of input into the process, which does two things. It helps ensure that you're getting employee buy-in into the evaluation. Even if they don't all agree with the ultimate decision, at least they were involved in the process. And second of all, involving more people from the business in the evaluation process and the demos in particular helps ensure that you're not missing anything and that you're uncovering blind spots that the core project team might have. So involving the right business stakeholders in the evaluation and the demo process is something that's critical as well. One thing I commonly see in expert witness cases where there's a lawsuit as a result of some sort of ERP implementation failure is this dynamic where a client was demoed one thing, they choose that software as part of the demo process, but then when it comes time to execute contracts, the contracts don't match what was actually demoed. It could be that there was a newer version that they were demoed, but then the contracts are with an older version of the software. It could be that there was a additional module or third-party bolt-on that they got demoed, but then they didn't include it in the contracts erroneously. And so you want to make sure that when you're getting a demo that you not only understand whether or not the software can do what it is you're asking it to do, but that you understand which module or which bolt-on or what piece of configuration or customization might be required to ensure that functionality. So it's really important to think of each demo as something that might ultimately be converted into a contract, because ultimately you're probably going to pick one of the vendors that are demoing, and you want to make sure that when it comes time to execute a contract and a statement of work and a master service agreement, a subscription agreement for the cloud technologies, you want to make sure that those contracts reflect what you saw in the demo and what you expect to get. And that's where it takes an experienced set of eyes, and also making sure that you take your time in the contracting process and don't fall victim to the quarter end, month end, weekend, day end sort of discounts that are one-time only offers allegedly from software vendors in a way to get you to rush to sign a contract. You want to make sure you take the time to make sure you're signing a contract that reflects what it is that you expect to get from the demo process. So these are just a few things that I recommend for organizations that are going through the software demo process. And there's others that I encourage you to think about as well. And more specifically, I encourage you to download our buyer's guide, our software buyer's guide, which is a 72-page guide that provides a number of best practices and tips and lessons for how to conduct an evaluation process. But just as importantly, it also features a number of objective and technology agnostic reviews and rankings of different technologies and different functions and different types of business software. So I encourage you to check out this buyer's guide. You can download it by scanning the QR code in front of you, or you can go to the links in the description field below. And in addition, in the links in the description field below, I've included access to other resources that are meant to help you through your evaluation process as well as your overall digital transformation. So I hope you found this information useful and hope you have a great day. That is something you want to make sure you don't do is bias your inability to talk, in my case. I encourage you to download our new guide that we just published not too long ago, and it's called it's called a, wait for it, a buyer's guide. And this 72-page guide, which you can download by clicking the UPC, the MySpace link, the for this free fax. Just enter your fax number in the